Hey, Bethany, welcome to the Open Door Sisterhood.
Hi, ladies. Thank you so much. It's so good to be here.
It's so good to have you. And I am wearing Primally Pure deodorant right now. It's
Oh,
the only
yay.
natural deodorant I will wear.
Oh, I love
Literally the
that. I
only
didn't know
one. I
that.
don't I don't like any others. It is like I have to have it. And it's actually one of my favorite gifts to give to friends. And I'm always like, I know this is weird to be receiving a deodorant as your birthday gift. Trust me. I'm like, just trust me. It's a
Yeah,
weird gift, but
don't
it's
take
like
offense to it.
but it's amazing. It's like this is such
Oh,
an amazing product. So
that's awesome.
Bethany,
Thank you.
that yeah, you're welcome. So I am a total fangirl of your products. And I'm so excited to learn about you as a person. So why don't you just a little bit introduce yourself to our listeners today?
Sure. I am a wife. I'm a mom of two little girls with a boy on the way. And we live in Southern California. My husband and I have been married for almost 10 years. And we kind of started our married life together, living a very normal life. I would say he was a high school teacher. I was working at the Special Olympics. And in the meantime, there was this pasture raised beyond organic farm that he had started with his family here in Southern California. We actually moved to Arizona right after we got married. So we were kind of working these jobs, and I was we were becoming really interested in health. I was really interested in the product aspect, and I started formulating these products in my kitchen in our apartment in Arizona. And then we were working these normal jobs, but we were driving back to California. At one point, it seemed like almost every weekend to help with the farm. And eventually we just decided let's like really try to make a career out of this. And so we quit our jobs. We moved back to California. We moved in with his parents. That was where the farm was at the time. His sister, her husband, and their son also moved back in. And then his other sister, who was living in New York, moved back in as well. He has two other siblings, also, who ended up also being involved in the farm. But there were 9 of us living in the house and
Wow.
just trying to get the farm up and running. It was crazy. It wasn't a big house. It was a 1,700 square foot house.
Really?
And the house was on 2.5 acres, which is why it made sense for us to start the farm there. But it was not a spacious living arrangement by any means. And, in addition to that, I was like cooking deodorants in the kitchen all day, every day. So like that also created issues because people didn't have space to cook food. So it was crazy. The farm was kind of the main thing that we were really pushing for, but I was really into these natural products, and I started selling them on the farm's website. And the farm customers really took to them more than I anticipated. And that just kind of fueled my passion for what I was doing. I eventually moved my products away from the farm's website, started my own website, primallypure.com, and then just really started growing my company. I was still doing everything out of my house at the time. And then when I became pregnant we lived with the whole family for a year, and then we moved
Mhm.
to a separate space once we got additional farmland. So that's where the company really kind of started taking off. And then when I became pregnant with our first daughter, I made the decision to move the company out of our home and into a separate warehouse office space, which was a big leap for me at the time. It wasn't like this easy financial decision. It was pretty risky, but I'm so glad that I did that because it allowed the company to run in my absence while I took a maternity leave. And then at that point, I really started to look at the company more as a business, because up until then it was kind of like I just thought I had to do everything. And then once I hired someone, realized that, have the more employees I have, the more can be taken off of my plate. And I started to think more strategically about it. So I started the company 7 years ago. And yeah, the first big step was kind of moving it out of my home, moving into a new space. I started to hire employees. And now we are in a totally different office, warehouse, headquarters space in Marietta, California. I have a team of about 40 people. We have a spa at our headquarters, and yeah,
It's amazing.
been a wild journey, but it's been a lot of fun and I've learned a lot.
Did you say you have a spa?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, it's great.
do people come? I mean, is it a destination place that people say, oh, I'm going to go to the Primally Pure headquarters, and while I'm there, I'm going to get a facial?
That's pretty much the only thing that people can do here. We don't really, we don't, it's not in like an industrial, or it's not in a place that you can really like walk up to. People are coming here to get a massage or to get a facial. And so, yeah, we get a lot of local customers that come in, and also people that are, I don't know if anyone really plans a trip here just to visit our spa. Maybe
they will now.
But but we do get a lot of people from out of town that are like in Southern California, and while they're here, they want to come visit our spa and headquarters. So it's really fun.
So fun. So you didn't really, it sounds like, set out to be an entrepreneur, but that's exactly what you are. So tell us a little bit about what that felt like to grow into an entrepreneur.
Yeah, it was difficult because, yeah, you're exactly right. I wasn't setting out to start a multi-million-dollar business, and that's exactly what happened. But I just kind of went into it really passionate about what I was doing and very willing to do all of the things on my own. So, I mean, I started this company in such a DIY way. Like, I was driving around to hair salons and coffee shops, picking up old newspapers and magazines and shredding them at home with a shredder from Costco. And that's what I used to stuff packages with and to like pad the products in the boxes. It was like handwriting labels on boxes. And so in the beginning, I just thought like, well, I'll just keep working really hard, and that it's working out well for me. And then once you hit kind of next levels of growth, there comes to a point where you have to start being a little bit more strategic, and where like hard work can only get you so far. And so at that point, I realized I really needed to just grow in my business knowledge and understanding of how to build a company and all of those things. And I started listening to podcasts on those topics and reading books. And looking back, I probably should have done that a little bit sooner than I did. But like I just said, I wasn't expecting it to turn into kind of what it turned into. So yeah, it was just lots of learning, lots of challenges. And for a while, I kind of had the mindset of like, I would feel sorry for myself when hard things happened, or when the company was facing a challenge, like, why is this happening? And then after a certain amount of time, I realized like, this is just what growing a company is. Like, there's nothing unfair happening to me. This is great. And there's things that I can learn from all of these challenges. I just have to know that there's no like end to the challenges that the company is going to face, or that I'm going to face. And I have to start seeing these as opportunities, not like bad things that are happening, and start really seeking out like, okay, God, what do you want me to learn right now? And what can I do better? And how can I grow, and all of that?
Yeah. It almost sounds like you thought there would be a point when you'd arrived, when you were done, and you realized, wait, this is never done. It's an ongoing process, and running a business is an ongoing thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, how has your faith either impacted your business, or how has your business impacted your faith as you've been going through each challenge and step?
Yeah, it's definitely been a two-way thing. I think the business truly has impacted my faith so much, because I've had to rely on God and trust in his plan more than I've had to with anything else in my life. It's really easy when you care so much about something to get caught up in just feeling anxious about all sorts of things. Like, a batch of deodorant didn't turn out quite right. Like, what was that? And, staying up at night, just worrying and wondering and or there's like a situation with an employee and kind of like feeling anxious about how do I handle this and how am I going to go into this conversation and things like that. It's always something new. And so it's like constantly having to rely on him for strength and wisdom and all of these things in all these new situations that I've never had experience dealing with before. And so that has been really, really hard, but really cool just to see how, like, when I ask God for strength and for wisdom, just to see, like, to experience how he gives those things to me and is so gracious, and how he like directs me and directs my path in different ways, and in these hard conversations or, you know, challenging situations, whatever it is. Like, I feel like I'm not alone in any of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
In the
sounds
beginning
like
I did, and then I just, you know, the more I've relied on him, the more I've felt peace and comfort.
mm-hmm. Like grace for each step. It sounds
Mm-hmm.
like, even in the hard and the disappointing and the discouraging, and that he's just giving you grace along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. So tell us about just even motherhood and how, I mean, so many women, I think, that are listening to this and maybe contemplating starting their own business or going out, doing something on their own. But they think, how can I? I don't have even a block amount of time to do things. I don't have even the time to think about what I want to do, let alone do it. Talk to us a little bit about how you address that in your own life and what happened along the way.
Yeah, I can completely resonate with those feelings. And I will say I'm grateful that I started the company before having a baby, even though I had a baby a year into having the company, which isn't that long. Just having that time, you know, to really pour into my company before having kids was really beneficial. So I think it is much more challenging to start something completely from scratch, you know, with kids. And I even think sometimes you're in such a phase of, like, you know, these moms that have little children, like your life is those little kids. And, you know, it's not always possible to hire help right away and that kind of thing to free up time to devote to a new business. So I will say there may just be times for some women when it's like, maybe you spend a couple of years really just dreaming about this thing and kind of figuring out a game plan and not necessarily diving in right away. I think there's always things that you can do to move you closer to whatever, like, dream or passion God has put on your heart. You can pray about it and talk to him about it and kind of talk to other people and that kind of stuff. But it may not be the right time, you know, depending on where you're at in your life as a mom, it may not be the right time to fully dive in. But yeah, and when I first had my daughter June, it was challenging. Like, that first year was really, really hard because I was trying to still do everything I had been doing with my business while also raising a child. And I wanted to do both, like, full time right away. So I wasn't asking for help from people. I didn't have babysitters or anything. And about 6 months in, I realized I was just completely drained and exhausted and needed help. So at that point, I did get help a couple days a week with my daughter. And then that was just, like, for me, it was the right thing to do. It was a breath of fresh air. I could finally focus on my business and mentally just be focusing on my business when I was doing that. And then when I was with her, I could be with her and I wasn't constantly feeling pulled in different directions. So for people that are wanting to start something, if you do have access to, you know, a mom or a mother-in-law, or, you know, friends or family or someone from church that, you know, you're in a situation where it works out to get help a few times a week or whatever that looks like. I think that's something that totally makes sense to take advantage of. Otherwise, just that feeling of being pulled in all sorts of directions is just, it's really difficult, and it's not good for, your child either, if you're with them, but distracted and, mentally
Yeah.
somewhere else.
I was just thinking, like, you actually have to give yourself freedom to not feel guilty about the other.
Yeah.
So like what you described. So when you have childcare on those days, you really focus on the business and you don't feel guilty about not being with your child. And then when you're with your child, you don't feel guilty about not working on the business. Like there's also a mindset shift that has to happen, because I think as women, we're always feeling guilty about something. Like we're always like, oh my gosh, I could be doing this. I could be doing this. And then all of a sudden we're not focused and grateful for what we are doing. We're just thinking about what the other thing we're not doing.
Exactly, for sure. And it's, and I think it's like constantly reevaluating, like if you are feeling overly guilty about the time you're spending on your business, like maybe reevaluate how much time you're spending on that and kind of structure things differently. Or if you're feeling like, oh, this just is not enough time for me to, commit to the things that I really need to get done with this project I'm working on or my business or whatever, maybe restructure things for that season to where it looks a little different. So that's something I've always had to do as well. There are seasons when I'm working very full time on my business. And, like the past couple of weeks, I'm gearing up for a trip that I just told you guys about. We're going to be gone for 2 weeks. So I've been working more than usual just so that when we're gone, I can fully be present with my family. So yeah, it's not easy. I think it's just like always reevaluating and kind of figuring out what works during that time. And then also allowing yourself to just be immersed in whatever you're doing and not feeling that guilt. But yeah, it's, easier said than done sometimes.
Yeah, I'm hearing two things. I'm hearing that you're flexible. So you're willing to shift and change as circumstances determine, and you're not holding to expectations of how things should be done. You're allowing for some creativity in there. Because I think it's when we get these rigid ideas of, as a mom, I should fill in the blank, or as a business owner or a boss, I should. And in reality, there are dozens or hundreds of ways that it can be structured and done. And so I hear you offering the freedom of flexibility, and probably that's part personality and part practice, that you have practiced it over time.
Sure.
I'm curious about decisions around time, because women and moms, especially, this is the Busy Mom's Guide, feel the pressure of, I only have 24 hours in my day and the to-do list is longer than I can get done. I'm guessing that you have a pretty big to-do list and that you could get overwhelmed. How do you structure your time, or how do you prioritize your time, given that you are running this huge company and parenting 2-3 kids?
Yeah, I will say sometimes my to-do list feels impossible. And that is also something that I look at. I mean, I plan ahead. So going into each week, I'll plan out kind of what needs to happen each day in order for everything that I know that I need to accomplish that week to get done. So I'll kind of look at things from not just day to day, but week to week. And sometimes I'm even planning 2 weeks out if I know I have a really heavy workload, and I'll schedule things in for each day. I'll time block things. So, those kind of strategies, really simple strategies, but things that I think it can be easy to forget to do are very helpful. But then also, once I've planned all that out, if something really important comes up, on Tuesday, and I had time blocked 3 hours for this, going back to that flexibility piece, I think it's important to reevaluate, maybe cross something off and then stick it on Thursday. And, oftentimes I get to the end of the week and there's things that I didn't get done, but it's because those were things that really can wait until, next week, next month, even sometimes. So yeah, I think it's just using those simple kind of looking ahead, time blocking, things like that. And then I also schedule in, this may sound odd to some people, but I schedule in things with my kids. So if I'm picking my daughter up from she's in a homeschool pod with some of her nieces and nephews, and all of us aunts and uncles kind of take turns picking the kids up and dropping them off. And so if it's like my day for pickup, I'll like schedule in, not just pickup, but pickup plus like lunch with the kids or something like that. Or, I'll take my older daughter's in school and my younger daughter is with the babysitter. Maybe I'll schedule in time to like take her out for a smoothie in the morning and do something special with her. So I've just found that if I don't write family things into my schedule, they're not going to happen. And I'll just spend every work day focused on work. And I just like incorporating time with them even into my work days as much as I can. So that's been something that's helped as well.
That's so helpful. And, Alex and I actually talk a lot about that, if we want things to happen, we have to put them on the calendar because that's part of living intentionally. If you don't put it on the calendar, it's probably, we'll get to it. You never get to it. So I really appreciate that comment. What are some other hacks you have? Like, it's just I feel like more and more moms are working from home and are trying to do some kind of entrepreneurship, whether they're with an existing company or they're starting their own thing. What are some of your best hacks?
Yeah, I think it helps a lot just to I think it's easy to get into the habit of, if there's something you have to get done, like turning on a show for the kids for a half an hour, or it's just easier to know that they're occupied while you're doing what you need to do. And I'm not like above doing that by any means. It still happens, but I think it's easy to do that more often than we actually truly want to be doing that. So I always try to have little crafts and like just coloring stuff, like a variety of things on hand to occupy them. So sometimes I bring my girls into the office for a little bit, and it's never for that long, but it's usually like half an hour or an hour. I just need to, tie up some loose ends or whatnot, and they're here with me. And I'll print out like little unicorn drawing, like sketch things from the internet, and just like give those to them with crayons and let them sit there and color. And yeah, I think just having like a little toolkit of, depending on the kid's age, of course, right, but having things like that on hand can just be really helpful if you're kind of in a pinch and need to get things done, but don't necessarily want to, plop your kid in front of the TV every time that happens. I was telling you guys about this before we started recording, but dry shampoo and wearing hats are like two of my biggest hacks. I don't wash my hair as often as I should. And so if I need to hop on a podcast like this one, or if I'm coming into the office and just want to look presentable, it saves me so much time. It saves me, the time of like washing and drying and all that to my hair. If I can just put a hat on top of my head or sprinkle some dry shampoo on. So that's a big one too.
Okay. So first of all, we need to talk about your dry shampoo. We've talked about your deodorant, but you have a Primally Pure dry shampoo. What makes this a great product? I'm going to go ahead and just set you up on this one.
I love our dry shampoo. We have one for dark locks and light locks. So it's a powder dry shampoo made with all natural ingredients, of course, with arrowroot powder as the base and cocoa powder. Both of them have cocoa powder, but the dark locks one has a little bit more. And you just kind of sprinkle it in, and it has some essential oils that smell really nice and fresh as well. And then just rub it in with your fingertips, and it just totally takes away like that greasy look. It also kind of gives your hair a little bit of volume. So I love the dry shampoo.
Okay. So good. And then tell us, what are your favorite hat brands and where do you buy them?
I pretty much have one, and it's because she's a friend of mine. It's Janessa Leone. She's based in LA. Her hats are all very ethically, consciously made. They're on the pricier side, but I have hats of hers that I've had for, I don't know, 7 years and I still wear them. So they're very durable. They last a really long time. So I'm really loyal to Janessa hats.
Well, and the one you have on right now is so cute. So what's the
Thanks.
name of that one?
I got it at this one. I got it at a sample sale, actually.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, for those watching on YouTube, you can have a visual of the hat. So darling. It's really
Thank
cute.
you. Thanks.
Okay. Any other last hacks or resources? It could be podcasts you listen to or books you read. Like, what's your favorite book that's helped you?
There's a book called How to Talk So Little Kids Will Listen. You guys heard of that one? Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of like helpful little strategies in that of just, when your kid is feeling upset about something and in your mind as an adult, you're like, you shouldn't be upset about that. That's not a big deal. Like, instead of just saying like, it's fine, move on, you're fine, like really taking time to hear them out, to like, let them know it's okay. Like, it's okay if you're feeling sad about this. The only problem is we really have to be at this appointment in 30 minutes, and it's just, I feel like it was helpful for me in just learning how to better communicate with my kids and make sure that they felt heard and not just dismissing their problems, but also kind of, sometimes drawing a line when a line needs to be drawn. I wish I had more. I feel like that's an area that I really want to dive more into. There are so many books just about like raising little girls that are on my list to read. And now I'm going to have to add ones about boys as well.
Yes, you will. Well, as we're closing up today, what would be just your final word of encouragement to women who are either in the middle of their own business and in the creation of their own business, or who are thinking about it?
Yeah, I think just doing whatever you can in the season you're in is going to be fruitful and beneficial. So not putting too much pressure on yourself, but like really praying about what the sweet spot is for you now, and in terms of how much time you want to be devoting to this dream, and and not feeling like you're underqualified or anything like that. Just trusting that God put this on your heart for a reason. And in a sense, when he put something like that on our hearts and on our minds, so in such an obvious way, it's like our responsibility to follow through with it and do something with it.
That's a great perspective. Well, thank you, Bethany, and thank you for just putting out such great products in the world that I personally am using all the time. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.